Welcome to part 2. Make sure to like and subscribe if you really think I'm worth it. Now, Nose Boobs, part 2. Todoroki? You stuttered. Eyes wide. Was he really... He steps closer to you. Todoroki saw your chest rise and fall beneath your breath. Lips parted slightly as his body just barely brushed yours. Eyes have lidded. He slowly leaned his face closer to yours, watching you swallow and close your eyes. Boop. Your eyes snapped back open as the tip of his nose touched yours. Stepping away, the corner of Todoroki's lips quirked up in a slight smirk. He smirked.
Ain't that impossible, eh?
Got you, Cloud. He watched your mouth open and close, a fierce blush dominating your face and neck. Picking up his forgotten bag, he continued down the hallway. The tips of his ears were pink, and the full realization of what he'd done just settled in. Even so, he chuckled. Oh yeah, he was definitely going to tell you he had a crush on you. Meanwhile, your legs gave out beneath you, forcing you to slump on the floor in a blushing mess. Pressing your hands against your chest, you took a few steadying breaths, trying to calm your racing heart. It was like you just ran a marathon. Looking after Todoroki, you laughed shakily. What just happened there? You really did ask yourself that multiple times. If your heart hadn't belonged to him already, it really did now. And you seriously didn't just not know how to stop. That's just pure cuteness. The Shoto Todoroki stoic one just booped your nose, and you could not believe it. A few days later. Ever since your close encounter with Todoroki a few days ago, you had been a blushing mess every time he was in the same room. Your thoughts filled with him and him alone. You tried to tell yourself that you were being ridiculous. He'd only touched your nose, to your God's sake. But that little gesture that he had done had been enough to make this small, hopeful part of you, the hopeful part of yourself that you had tried to take away, that much bigger. You're beginning to think that maybe, just maybe he liked you too? No way. He couldn't possibly like you the way you liked him. He was the Todoroki Shoto, Mr. Cool and Aloof. Way out of your league. But still, you could at least hope, couldn't you? And you heard a few rumors from other girls, so... Groaning, you tossed yourself onto your bed, scrunching your eyes shut as you tried to banish the thoughts of your crush from your mind and go to sleep. Not like you'd get much sleep anyways. Your indecision was driving you mad. Should you confess? Or should you not confess? What would happen if you did confess? Either he'd reject you, the more likely outcome, or he wouldn't do anything. Or he didn't. And the world wasn't so cruel after all. Being with Todoroki, that was something you could only dream of. He always seemed so far away, but if recent events weren't any indicator, maybe he wasn't as far away as you first thought. But what would happen if you didn't confess? Would you end up with waiting for him forever and ever, only to be disappointed when another bolder girl scoops his heart up? Would you end up regretting it? Lost in thoughts of what might have been if you had to take the leap of faith. Grit in your teeth, you opened your eyes to the darkness of your room, your mind calming as a result for settling. For better or the worse, you would confess to Todoroki, if only to avoid the future regrets, if nothing else. Taking a deep breath in, a certain heterochromic, dual-haired teen released it slowly. His ribs shifting beneath his hands, laid on top of his chest lazily. He was staring up at the shadowy ceiling of his room. Todoroki tried to organize his thoughts, but to no avail. It was a wonder that he had gotten through the past few days without his heart exploding every time you were around. Somehow, he had managed to act normal, like he hadn't made a move on the girl that he was heavily crushing on for the past year. But he couldn't keep it up for much longer. No, that would be impossible. The high of acting on how he felt had worn off quickly, leaving him doubtful. You didn't seem to hate him. Well, not now, which was a good sign. But you hadn't come near him either, making a ball of anxiety form in his throat at the thought of the fact that he might have made you uncomfortable or displeased you in any way. Yeah, right. Who wouldn't like the piece of beautiful sculpted calves like Shoto? Immediately after your nose booping incident, returning the gesture you made so often in a much more intimate manner, he had decided to confess to you, and he still fully intended to do that. He just didn't quite know how. Todoroki certainly hadn't had the most loving childhood in the world of affection, which still scarred him. But he truly wanted to be with you, to smile with you whenever you booped his nose in that way, made you so happy. It surprised him to find that he had missed the brief, jolting connection for the past few days. He couldn't, for the life of him, understand why, but he had even begun to think that he was special to you, that the second-long contact between the pad of your fingers and the tip of his nose hinted to some connection between you he had. If he left things as they were, he didn't know what would happen, but something inside him said that standing by wasn't an option. He had to move. He had to reach out to you, just as you had reached out to him in a small but very meaningful way. But how? It's no use. What am I even going to do? He asked himself. Meaning, he really did mean that. Yet, on the second floor, just at the same time, he also so desperately said, "Oh, it's no use. What am I even going to say?" You practically wailed over the phone to Jiro as you struggled to pull up your sock, holding the piece of technology between your shoulder and cheek. "Listen, you're going to be fine. Have you seen his face every time he's seen you? That boy got it bad, the other girl insisted. Today was the day you had decided to confess, having told one of your closer friends, Jiro, your plan, knowing she would do all she could to help. You had been feeling fine, really. You were feeling ready and eager to get yourself rid of those feelings in your chest. Until now. Suddenly, it was as if all the romantic anxiety you have been collecting and actively avoiding and denying had broke through your courageous front, making you reconsider everything you had planned to say and how successful you thought you would be. That is it for part 2. And as I said, please like and subscribe if you think I'm worth it. Part 3 will be out tomorrow or afterwards. Good night.